and welcome to this week's podcast of the Awanachi Conversations. These are real life conversations. We call them conversations that count. I am excited that on the podcast today, we will be talking about issues of mental health and getting to find out a bit more about a woman who's doing amazing things in the mental health space. I'm your host, Mpunga Chipepo-Simukwai, and I'm happy to introduce to you my guest for today, and that's Dr. Maria Akani, a psychologist and psychiatrist.
Yes.
Welcome, Dr. Maria. Thank you so much for coming through today.
Thank you for having me.
I know it's been quite a busy period for you. We would schedule that we'll have our chat on this day. Something comes up. Even today, you are running off to other meetings as well. So we really appreciate the fact that you could create time to be with us on the podcast today to discuss an issue that I think is so important, yet I think most times under-discussed or not paid much attention to. So it's issues of mental health. Now, just to kickstart, what prompted you to choose a career in mental health?
First of all, I want to say that I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
My interest started from wanting to help people. I think that I've found that people run away from conversations like that. And I found myself being one of those who is ready to deal with the mess. Mm-hmm. Initially, I thought, then I'll just become a doctor. But after studying medicine, I realized that there is a place for these kinds of conversations, even in medicine. And that's how come I went on to specialize in psychiatry and psychology. So really, it's feeling like people need support, and I can be that support. I think that I'm gifted that way.
Mm. How would you describe the mental health conversations in Zambia? I do remember that for a very long time, even people who suffered, from mental health issues didn't even know what to call it. Where are we as a country on issues of mental health?
We're getting better,
mm-hmm.
but we still have a lot of runway that we can catch up with. We're getting better, but we still have a lot of conversations that we need to have. And what's sad about it is that even among mental health professionals, ideally one of the things that you should be screened for if you are found with a high blood pressure is to also find out, what's going on with your life. Are you stressed? Do you have any problems? But sometimes we don't even have those kinds of conversations. And so in your assessment, in your fitness, there should be that conversation about how your mental health is. How are you doing emotionally? We don't have those conversations. Mm-hmm. When people plan wellness activities, they will plan physical wellness activities. And so the focus has been a lot on what's going on in the body, mm-hmm. but not so much what's going on inside the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the mind.
Yeah.
Now, issues of balance are always considered to being key to our own mental health. Mm-hmm. How do you, in your personal life, balance your professional and personal life, notwithstanding the fact that you obviously, by nature of your work, you have to deal with different people, discussing different challenges that they may have? How do you create that balance?
I think that one of the things that really helps me is my boundaries. I think that I have very strict boundaries. Mm-hmm. And so when it's time to rest, I will rest. Mm-hmm. I think that you remember one of the conversations you had asked if we could do it at the weekend. Mm-hmm. And that's just a very tricky part for me. And I will try and protect. I schedule almost everything in my life, including rest. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to have an afternoon nap, I schedule it, because if I don't schedule it, something else will come up and then I'll fill up my day. So I try to schedule my time with my children, my time with my friends, schedule my exercise, my time to read a book, my time to watch TV. And that way it protects my life from being invaded by other activities. I mean, it doesn't always work, but I think that one of the key things that I focus on is just having those boundaries so that I can make sure different aspects of my life also thrive.
Now, You spoke at a TEDx event, and obviously it requires a lot of guts for you to stand on that podium. Could you share with us your experience in getting to the place where you're able to deliver that talk? What was it like, the preparation, the mental preparedness that you had to go through to just get to that?
Well, so when I was invited to speak, I had like 3 topics that I wanted to speak about. And initially I thought, should I do this? But I think what helped me was that I actually felt like I had a conversation that needed to happen in the community. So that pushed me to have that conversation. I'll tell you that actually doing that TEDx talk was a very emotional thing for me. And it was emotional for a number of reasons. Firstly, just the amount of sexual abuse that's been happening for children, not just in Zambia, but worldwide. Like, those are conversations people don't have, and yet people are traumatized. Being a therapist and sitting on the other side of the chair, I get to see people who are struggling to navigate life because of something that happened in their childhood, and people belittle it. So I felt like I had something to say. And as we approached the day of speaking at the TEDx, I think we had like 3 mock speeches in different fora. And I'll tell you that each time I spoke, a couple of people would come up after and speak to me and said, this happened to me. This happened to me and I'm struggling with this. This happened to me and I got some help. This happened to me and it was swept under the carpet. So much so that by the time we got to the final TEDx talk, we had set up a room that people could actually come to afterwards who needed support, because we realized that this was going to invoke a lot of emotion, just speaking about child sexual abuse, and also what support people can get in the community, or what the community can do about this problem, which wasn't being done much about.
So just speaking about your own personal wellness as a therapist, how do you ensure that you don't carry the burden from your clients into the home? Because I would like to think and obviously being an expert, there's a greater chance that you would carry that into the home space. How do you just differentiate, or how do you decide, okay, this is work, this is now family time, and you don't carry that into other spaces as well?
And I think that's the challenge that COVID posed, because there is the psychological aspect of being at work that helps you to separate your work and your home. And so if people are doing all their work from home, that separation is sort of taken away from you. I remember that one of the things I did during COVID is that I still drove to work to have my online sessions. And for me, that was an important aspect. The good thing is that there was hardly anybody at work, but I still drove to work so that I could be at work and be separate from my home. Other things that we do is, journaling and personal self-care, but I also have what is called supervision. So you get to a place where you can talk to another therapist about some of the issues that might be affecting you, either triggered by another client or not. And so because I know I have that platform, I can contain myself for a while, knowing that, in a couple of weeks, I will be speaking to a supervisor. I'll be speaking to either a peer supervisor or my senior supervisor, and we'll be able to navigate this thing. So there are ways of doing that, because sometimes people say you should be somebody who doesn't care if you do this job. But if you don't care,
you wouldn't do it.
No, you wouldn't do it.
Right. Now, also just to find out, in terms of seeking therapy, how are we doing in Zambia, particularly amongst women? Obviously, Awanachi Conversations is about issues that affect men. How is that going, particularly for women? Do you have a bit more women seeking therapy, or we still have that stigma to deal with if you're going to go out there and seek help for your mental health issues?
In comparison, there are more women than men. Also, there have been more people coming up to raise their hands and say, I need to talk to someone, I need to get help. And part of it is being in a society where you raise up your hand and say you need help, and somebody belittles your problem, or they make a mockery of
nothing.
it, or they share it with someone else, they don't help you. So there's been more of this recognition that people need to go and see a professional to get help. So it's improving.
We're getting somewhere.
We are.
Okay. Now, you believe that mental wellness is more than just the absence of illness. Can you just tell us about a small change that one can make that can make a big difference towards their own mental well-being?
Okay. So I'm thinking about the conversation we had before we started this. And this is particularly for you.
Yeah.
You need to say no more.
Right.
Okay? So no is a complete sentence. That's one. But just remember that every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So just be careful about what you're saying yes to. Whenever you say yes, you're saying no to something else. So when you say yes to do this, you're saying no to the nap. When you say yes to do this, you're saying no to spending more time with your kids. When you say yes to do this, you're saying no to eating that healthy food. So just think about that every time you're saying yes. Just don't let your yes be quick. Maybe take some time before and really, really process that and try to say no more often. Yeah.
No, it's pretty hard, in our culture. If you're expected to be in certain places at a particular time, if you don't show up, it's, this person is not being supportive, or this person is... How do you still navigate that so that you're still able to say your no and your yes probably at the right time? Because these are issues that might seem very trivial, but are very significant and are real challenges.
True. I guess it's a mindset issue, and really, really asking yourself, interrogating yourself on some of these things. So, for example, when I was getting married, my father said to me, even if you invited 1,000 people, you still have to say no to some people. I think that's the most liberating sentence anyone ever said to me. And since he said that, I realized it's not about increasing the numbers. I still need to say no at some point. So I made a decision. I was going to say no at this point, and I said, I'll apologize to the rest. I mean, if they hate me because of that, I don't know what kind of relationship we had in the first place. But what I mean when I say you really need to analyze, you find yourself going to 1,000 funerals and you're just a number, because you need to be counted.
You need to show up.
But at what cost? At what cost? So, here you are now with having so many headaches. You're so stressed, trying to move through that funeral, be at that kitchen party committee, and be at that chilangamli. Like, it's just so overwhelming. And mental health is not something you can purchase in a shop, but if you have more money, you just buy more of it. No, you just have to preserve it, so to speak. So the more you take care of it, the more it will serve you later. And the more you abuse it now, the more of it that, will suffer later. So it's about really sitting down and evaluating your life and saying, where am I spending my time? Where am I spending my energy? And what can I do to make sure that I'm spending it where it really counts? And it's tough. It's tough, but you have to
do it. Now, what are some of the common misconceptions around mental health that you wish more people understood?
I think it's conversations like, you're not strong, that's why you're feeling so bad. I don't think people say that when you have a migraine. Nobody says, you're not strong, that's why you have a headache. But when people are dealing with mental health problems, there is the way in which people turn the conversation to be about you. You're not learning how to deal with this, you're not strong. I think that's one misconception that I would like us to change. Another one is that there is those that get mental illnesses, and then there is me. Like, somehow when we have these conversations, people are always referring to, so people with mental health, they never say us, or, and they always ask me, so your patients, like my patients are from Mars or something, like, they never put themselves there, it's always other people. And I think if we can think about it more in terms of it possibly affecting ourselves, we can change a lot of things, because you know these are the surfaces you too will experience if something like this happens to you.
Wow. Now, Maria, you focus mainly on women and children, right? Especially those that have been affected by abuse. What motivated you to focus on this particular two groups?
Well, I think that living in a society, I usually like to look at those who are marginalized. But also with women, I feel that especially in a traditional society like this one, there's a lot of abuse that happens, and some of it is in the name of it being cultural, and I feel that because of that, they need more support, like women need more support, but so do children, because especially, like I said, in this culture where people use a lot of culture to do things, you find that sometimes children are abused, and it's in the name of culture. But I think that somebody needs to speak up for these people. Somebody needs to go and give them the support. And one of the greatest joys I've had walking this journey of mental health is seeing an empowered woman. Like, people are even coming, you're a therapist, I think you should stop going for therapy, because it's like they're where you're going.
The health has become a problem.
If I'm poisoned one day.
Right. Okay. Now, the importance of mental health for anybody cannot be overemphasized, but more so for a leader. What is the significance of mental health for a leader?
When you think about it, what does a leader need to lead? They need to have a sound mind, okay? They need to have their emotions. Yes, and they need to have their behavior an example to others. And all those three are the three aspects that form mental health. How a person thinks, how they feel, and how they behave. And what's even worse for us is that we have had a period in life where we've lost two presidents. In my opinion, it has a lot to do with stress and not being able to recognize that people like that also need support. So when you have a leader who has that compromise, it affects continuity of work. It affects the culture in a particular situation. It affects the motivation of the whole team. Because they talk about how the fish rots from the head. Yes. So if we can take care of what's going on with the leader, we want to believe that it can permeate to the rest of the team.
Wow. Now, the importance of mentorship is also something that I strongly believe is key. And I know, obviously, being in a relatively new field, particularly in Zambia, I'm curious to know who are some of the people that have mentored you into the Dr. Maria that you are right now.
To be fair, I'm a child of the village. And I think you know what they say, it takes a village to raise a child. I am one of those. I have had so many people along my path who have helped me. And when people talk about women not supporting each other, that's a very foreign concept to me, because right from when I was in grade 2, it was my teacher, my woman teacher, that believed in me and, had me saying poems to presidents and things like that. And so I've had people mentoring me. Some of them have been friends. Like they've gone ahead of me and then they're able to tell me their story. I can particularly mention one person, Professor Sekelani Banda. He's my cousin. And I mentioned to him that I wanted to become a doctor. And from the time I was in grade 5, he has made it a point that he has been there to show me what it looks like. Even though he's in a different specialty, he has guided me. He's had conversations with me at different points. But that's just only one person. Like I said, I'm a child of a village.
The village, so many other people.
Yes.
Right. Now, in terms of support, we always emphasize the fact that none of us was born to do life alone. but there's always this need to show up, to still excel in what we do. What role has a strong family support system played in your life, in your career, in your business, in everything that you're doing? What role has a strong support system played?
I like your assumption that it has played there.
Well, we will assume it has played a role.
Well, definitely a strong support system plays a role in more than one aspect. I think that I, for one, have been mentored a lot by my parents. One of the things that I say in my upbringing, I was allowed to do a lot of activities. Some of them were just crazy. And my parents supported them. I keep thinking about, for example, my wedding day. And I arrived at the altar in a canoe. And my dad agreed to be in that canoe. And I just asked him once. I didn't have to ask him a lot of times.
Right.
And he agreed to be
there.
Yeah.
Where was your wedding?
It was
This is getting interesting.
At Insobe Game Camp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I heard him later telling his friends that his heart was in his mouth, but he never said anything.
Yeah,
the
he
whole
showed
time.
up. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been allowed, I think, to do a lot of whatever silly things, and they supported me. They were there. They've showed up for everything in my life, every graduation, book launch, whatnot, TEDx talk, whatever. They have showed up, and I would say the same about my nuclear family as well. I've seen the support. I think part of the reason why I'm able to do this is because my home base is covered. My kids are taken care of and are supported, and it's not me alone trying to manage all these things, manage their parenting and so on. And my kids, in their own way, they have also been very supportive. They tell me a number of times to believe in you. They understand the different times I've had to be away at different points. So I think that one of the things that a strong support system does is that it gives you wings. If your base is not okay, you can't fly. But once your base is okay, you feel that you can freely go out there and conquer because where you are, things are good.
Yeah. One interesting fact about you is the fact that you are an author, right? And we would like for you just to share a bit about the book. And I've been seeing a book update, thinking, okay, there's another book that's coming. Tell us about your first book.
I should have come with a copy.
What do you think of it? Yeah.
Yes, so I wrote a book entitled How Can I Make the Pain Go Away? And the reason I wrote that book was because I found that that's one of the most common questions my clients would ask me. They would reach a point where they're just like, okay, I know my dad is gone, but then I have this pain. Like, how can I make it go away? If I have a headache, I'll get a Panadol. But when my heart is hurting, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So I found myself being able to give advice as handouts. But I realized that, this would be more beneficial if more people could access this.
Right.
And basically, that's what the book is about. It's a handbook for dealing with heartache.
Okay, and how is that going? How has been the response?
It's been going much, much better than I imagined. And just hearing different people, sometimes I'm walking oblivious to everyone around me, and someone will stop me and say, your book really saved my life. Your book helped me through a really rough time. I think one of the biggest surprises was the number of men that have reached out to say, your book saved my life. Your book really helped me. I would recommend your book any day. I think in my head, I just imagined that there would be lots of women
around. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
but I didn't imagine the number of men that have actually attested to being supported by the book as well.
I would ask you, does the pain really go away?
Well, it depends. Depends on what kind of pain.
Right.
So some pain does go away. Some of it is about how you manage to live with the pain. And then over time, it does subside. So that's basically what the book is about, because The issue is, if you have a really bad headache, if you take a painkiller, sometimes the pain goes away. But if you have malaria, you will have to keep taking Panadol until the problem is sorted out. So it's a bit like that. So it does talk about how you can deal with pain, and for some people it goes away. For some people there's other things they need to deal with, and they'll have to keep doing this Panadol thing to deal with the pain while other things are being sorted out in their lives.
Well, okay. Sounds really interesting. Now, there could be somebody who's watching this podcast and they're grappling with a lot of mental issues. Sometimes they don't even understand who they are. They don't understand where they should be going next. What would be your word of encouragement to such a one that feels, going to seek therapy might be perceived as a sign of weakness, or I'm not strong, or sometimes I'm not spiritual, right? Like I'm not spiritual. What would be your word of encouragement to such a one?
Well, first of all, I think I would say that nothing lasts forever, not even your pain. Like, it's here today, gone tomorrow. Sometimes when people are in pain, they feel like it will never end, but it can end. And the second thing is that there is help out there. There's always help. Just keep fighting for yourself to get that help. It might be getting a book like mine, for example. It might be getting into therapy. It might be just talking to someone who can walk the journey with you. Just please keep fighting for yourself. Don't give up. Don't give up. There's help out there.
Right. Now, as we wind down, Maria, what is one fact that, we don't know about you? Just a fun fact. That would be thinking, okay, Maria, okay. Just one.
I'm thinking maybe just how much I love crafts. So I really enjoy crafts, and previously I would buy a lot of them, and then I would have nowhere to put them, not enough shelf space, not enough wall space. So what I do now is I just have a good time walking through the craft market.
Oh, wow.
And I would walk like aisle by aisle, and sometimes I even talk to the people, ask them what kind of stone. I mean, I can take you through a tour and be able to explain, this is banana skin, this is this stone, this is made from this, and so on.
Could be a creative at heart. Right.
I think I am. I think I am.
Yeah. Well, Maria, it's been nice having you on the conversation, just for you to share around issues of mental health. We're grateful that you took time to be a part, and it's our hope that somebody who's been able to watch this podcast today will be encouraged to seek help, will be encouraged and be reminded that it's okay to not be okay and to seek help. So thank you so much for coming through. We look forward to hosting you on future podcasts to still touch based on issues of mental health. Particularly, I would like us to look at mental health, particularly for business women, for professionals, because our mental health issues may be different. If you're a professional, you have so much work piled up. I mean, you're at the beginning of the month and it already feels like you're in the next month. And then you realize, I'm
like
tired. And then you're tired, your whole body's saying you're tired, but you're like, there's so much work that I have to do, so I can't get leave. How do you navigate that without making your superiors think you are lazy? So we look forward to having that second conversation with you. But just to thank you yet again for the amazing work that you're doing around mental health. I know that with your doing what you're doing, with your yes on mental health issues, you are encouraging somebody to take charge of their own mental health as well. So thank you for all you do, and may God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So there you have it. I've been talking to Dr. Maria Akani. We've been talking about issues of mental health. Remember, she has emphasized the fact that there's help out there. You don't have to do life alone. If you have any mental health issues, always seek help. There's always a way out. We have come to the end of this week's podcast. Please do join me next time for another exciting episode. I've been your presenter, Mpunga Chipepo-Simukwai. Goodbye, and God bless you.